Good afternoon and welcome everybody into Daily Cards Live. June 23rd, 2023. The Cardinals are off today as they have been the last 2 days because they had to travel over the pond to play in England, and I'm joined by Bob Ramsey. In fact, I'm kind of jumping in on his space here on Daily Cards Live. So thanks for having me today, Rammer.
It's always great to have you on board. For those who are Joe Roderick fans, I can't imagine it, but I'm sure there are some. Come on. That wasn't fair, was it?
That was not fair.
Joe is actually on the road, seeing a couple of Major League Baseball games on a little baseball trip, and we'll get full updates of what he saw and what he liked and didn't like on Monday.
Yes, we just have some kind of meandering Cardinals thoughts here before they face off against the Cubs in a two-game series, over in England. Some really interesting coverage. If you want to check it out over on MLB Network, they had Adam Wainwright with some of the MLB Network correspondents up on a double-decker bus driving around London. They've hit all the kind of kitschy notes you can hit and when you do one of these things, which is fun. But I'm really interested to see how this Cardinals team plays against this Cubs squad. This Cubs squad on a little bit of an uptick. I saw a point, in the Athletic earlier this week. Rick Garoli was pointing out, maybe the Cardinals have something that they can turn it around. And her big thing was talking about the run differentials. And to her point, the Cardinals have a run differential better than the Marlins, right there around the Cincinnati Reds. But you know who has the best run differential in the Central? It's the Chicago Cubs. And so they're playing good defense. The pitching's really coming in with Marcus Stroman. The offense, not a big bad offense at all right now. But the Cubs are a dangerous team. If the Cardinals can get a little two-game sweep here, I think that there's something to be said about building on the confidence of that 4-2 road trip on the East Coast.
It makes a difference when two of your best guys are out, and both Horner and Bellinger missed some time, and you get them back in there with a real pro. I just think Ian Happ is just a pro, and is a dangerous hitter. Some of the young guys coming around, I don't think they're a horrible team. If you were placing bets on winning the Central Division, they'd be down the list a little bit, probably about where they are, third or fourth. But they're a team you can't dismiss, I think is the best way to put it. And maybe a chance to get better. I think we'll get into what we think the Cardinals will be doing in the next 5 weeks. The Cubs got to figure it out too. They've got an interesting balance of some true kids and then some guys that have been around a few years like Happ and Bellinger. Is this a mix that can move forward and make you a playoff team? Or is it sort of a stopgap mix with those veterans? And will they need to be moved to get younger but perhaps more major league ready prospects? I don't know the answer to that, but I think those are the things to watch.
Yeah, and interesting the Cubs point, talking about them being, a better defensive team, things like that, better pitching team. That, I think, has been kind of the story over the Cardinals' last 2 weeks, is because so many of those games early in the season, so many of those one-run losses was, a combination of either bad defending early in the game or stumbles in relief pitching late in the game, and also some extremely uneven starting pitching. Well, we've seen a little bit of the starting pitching level out a little bit. The closing role now taken by Jordan Hicks. We'll see how long that lasts, but right now it's looking pretty good. And the defense aspect has been extremely important to the Cardinals improving. You just look at, I know you're not a big analytics guy, but just look at something like BABIP, and you look at some, that measures how good the defense essentially is taking, the balls that they should. MLB average is about 300. You look at the Cardinals pitching staff, it's a 347 BABIP, and all the starters are up closer to 4. So that just tells you the defense hasn't been closing these things out. And then again, you have 30 save chances prior to Jordan Hicks taking over, and you blew 15 of them. So, when you look at those aspects and you think, we just take a little bit of that, and you can buy the Cardinals realistically another 6 or 7 wins without being too pie in the sky or grasping at straws. There's a reasonable thing that gets you back to them being essentially a 500 squad. Now, that's not something necessarily to put a feather in your cap about, but it's better than what we're looking at, and I think it gives us maybe something to look towards and maybe why there's still some positivity on what could happen if this team is a 500 squad at the deadline.
Yeah, this group is a real head scratcher. And while it is fun online in our various radio careers to poke fun at the Cardinals and some of their indecision, they are a head scratcher. For instance, go back to the end of March. Tyler O'Neill was clearly the best center fielder in the organization. Then it was Lars Nootbaar. Then it was Dylan Carlson. Now it's Tommy Edman, who wasn't even on that depth chart at the end of March. And I'm not saying in the given moment the Cardinals were wrong in their evaluation. I think they were with O'Neill, but you can see how they've got all these parts and how exactly to fit them together to have the winning combination. That it's a bit of a struggle right now. Offense versus defense. I got to get the bats in there, but do we want a couple of infielders playing key outfield spots? We've got a great young hitter, but he's not good defensively right now. I mean, all these things weigh in. It's not, the Cardinals aren't in an easy place, but we don't, as fans, we don't care how the sausage is made. Just put it on the plate, cooked to perfection. That's all we care about. So despite all the things that we know are true with BABIP and guys out of position, we don't care. You got a roster, you've got good players, figure out a way to win.
Yeah, and they've started to figure out some ways. Obviously, they're going to have to put it together. They have a schedule that they can definitely take advantage of. Obviously, the Astros a very good team, and the Yankees, Miami's a solid NL squad, but the White Sox not too great closing out the first half of the season. Again, those are good teams, but they're not teams that are completely overachieving from what we thought they would be. If they get half those games, it sets them up because they come out of the gate in early July, so the last 2 weeks leading up to the trade deadline. Nationals, Marlins, Cubs, Diamondbacks, Cubs. So those are gettable games, and also you got to think if they're winning it, it does make you think the front office would have some positivity. And now probably a situation like the last 2 years where it's a lesser and a half, but nonetheless, I would assume you would get at the very least that level of reinforcements to this pitching staff.
But assuming health, you don't need that level. You need better than that.
And that's what I was going to get to, which is there potentially a trade you see maybe because of that, over versatility of the roster right now that they could put together? Is it something like Brendan Donovan and a big prospect for a starting pitcher? Maybe, another two big prospects or Tyler O'Neill to take a chance on him. I'm not sure what the combination would be. We can get all fanny with it and trade machine with it. But the bottom line is that there's a combination of upside players teams could be interested in, versatile players teams will always be interested in Brendan Donovan or Tommy Edman. And the fact of the matter is you have prospects. And I know it's been worrisome to trade them away, but unless the Zach Thompson move from the bullpen to the starting rotation next season was the biggest indication of what this front office thinks of their current roster, they have to, at some point, risk some of these prospects to win some baseball games.
I don't think anybody's an untouchable, but I don't want to give guys away. I think in St. Louis, we've always had a bit of a habit of liking our guys too much.
Yeah.
But and you had mentioned Donovan, which I hadn't heard much. You had a thought about Brendan.
Yeah, there was Jim Bowden of the Athletic just doing great work. He put out his trade list pre-deadline. The players he thinks could go, and it's a very extensive list right now, obviously, because there's ones on there he even admits very low chance, but things could happen. But the bottom line is he put every viable Cardinal on that list: Flaherty, Donovan, Edman, Carlson, Nootbaar, and Alec Burleson. But I think one of the most interesting things came from his blurb about Brendan Donovan when he said about Donovan, when the Cardinals call looking for pitching upgrades, teams often ask for him as part of a return package. I love Brendan Donovan. That kind of versatile player that you can play in 3 or 4 different spots is fantastic. and he hits extremely well for being that utility role. But with this team, with a guy like Tommy Edman who can play apparently Gold Glove level shortstop and center fielder, I think he's a no-brainer trade piece for this roster at this point. I honestly, if that's the case, if he's the guy they're asking about, probably in addition to Gordon Graceffo and maybe some other fielder that I'm not thinking of right now, it's absolutely a no-brainer that he's part of the package if it is a top-end starter.
There's no way to predict how a given conversation would go. But if you asked me for him, I'd say, well, what about Tommy Edman?
You'd rather have Brendan Donovan than Tommy Edman.
Because of his bat.
Really?
Donovan's a leadoff hitter. Tommy's a number 9 hitter.
He's a Gold Glove shortstop and center fielder. That's rare.
Yeah, but we've already established in the last 2 months we're filthy with center fielders, and you can't deny that's been established. We're filthy with center fielders, but we're not filthy with leadoff hitters. Now you could argue, and I think it's a good argument. Well, you move Nootbaar into there. Okay, I'm good with that, but having a guy who can play who's a baller, a guy I really like that. Not that I mean you're making me pick between my 2 sons.
Sorry,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but one guy is a leadoff hitter, and one guy is a 9th place hitter. And the Gold Glove shortstop thing, we can't for the next 3.5 months worry about that. The next shortstop we already have, and he's not even playing yet. So the Gold Glove shortstop, while yes, that is a true statement, it is not relevant to the future of the Cardinals.
But the guy can play every position.
So can Donovan.
Okay, here's my thing. If that's true, then I want to see him play more shortstop, because I honestly think if he can play shortstop, then it opens up Jordan Walker at the DH, as well as being able to play a high-level defensive outfield. That's another thing I've been toying around in my mind.
DeYoung's a better shortstop. Just leave him there.
Well,
this year doesn't matter.
He's not on the 2024 Cardinals.
Oh, you're talking about for next year.
I'm just saying, I am kind of saying looking towards the future, because if you trade Tommy Edman,
then you bring up Mason Wynn.
Yeah, it's true. All right, it's fine. I'm just trying to because here's my thing. If the Cardinals aren't going to acquire or develop more starters with the ability to miss the bat.
Yeah, that's the point. That's a great point.
Then here's the thing. That's fine. Because here's the I will not criticize a team for an overall scheme in their organization unless they fail to go at it 100%, which is, if you're not going to develop those pitchers, then you better continue to prioritize defense. So the idea has to be, if Jordan Walker is not an even average outfielder, then we have to go forward talking about how do we get Jordan Walker into the DH or corner outfield or corner infield position, or just maybe the answer is better at the outfield. But right now at this point, Jordan Walker's defensive aspect and where he is in the lineup relative to that is holding back this team from playing their vision to 100%. That's been a reason they're 14 games, 12 games under 500 at this point, and it's going to be a reason they fail to get back to a winning team, because you can't half-ass the zag. When everyone else is zigging and you're going to be the franchise that zags, you can't half-ass it. You got to go all the way into it. You have to have a plus defense. And right now they don't. And unfortunately, despite the great hitting that I want in the lineup every day, hence the DH point, Jordan Walker is hurting an outfield that needs to be covering as much ground as possible.
Look, the Cardinals aren't going to not hit and just play defense. I think you're being overwrought about Jordan Walker. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Can Jordan Walker run?
Yes.
Can he throw?
Yes.
Does he have good hands?
I would assume so at third base.
We've played third base his whole life.
I would assume so.
He's got good hands. Is he stupid or smart?
Pretty smart.
He's pretty smart. Why can't he play outfield?
I don't know. That's a good question.
He can. He just started playing it, though.
Fair. That's
he just
fair.
Relax. If they want him to be, he'll be the left fielder for the next 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be fine.
That wasn't. I know I came at Jordan Walker hard in the point, but the point is not. The point is hardly just about Jordan Walker. It is a point overarching to the entire organization because they sacrificed defense at other positions that I thought was an odd decision overall.
Here's a possible 2024 look. You have Contreras mostly as your DH, Herrera mostly as your catcher, Gorman's at second, Wins at short, and you've got Walker, Nootbaar, and Carlson in the outfield, and then you've got Donovan playing 4 or 5 days a week all over the place, giving guys a rest. I'd go to battle with that bunch.
You said something there. This is going to be our last point before we close out the show. I know Bernie wrote about it. I know he's talked about it. What's your take on the lack of Herrera time up in the majors this year?
We saw him play, and everybody, even a casual fan, could see he wasn't ready for the big leagues. Okay, now he's playing better, and everybody says he's doing the things he needs to do to get better. So I'm on board.
All right, fair enough. A very level-headed take from Bob Ramsey.
He apparently is doing everything he's supposed to do. The numbers suggest that he's playing well. And if he gave you 100 games behind the plate and Contreras gave you 62 games behind the plate next year, I'd be okay with that. Now, if Herrera comes up and is hitting 120 after 3 months, wouldn't even take that long. If he's overmatched, like he was last year. But he's hitting very well at Memphis. There's no reason to think that he's not continuing to get better and climbing the ladder.
Fair enough. The Cardinals tomorrow morning, 12:10 noon time. Justin Steele facing off against Adam Wainwright. And then it'll be a 9 a.m. game on Sunday. Jack Flaherty facing off against Marcus Stroman. That'll be a fascinating game there on Sunday for the Cardinals. We'll see if they can get a 2-game sweep over the Chicago Cubs. And you and Joe will talk about that more on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Rammer, you have a great weekend as well. But before you go, please tell our friends about Royal Banks of Missouri.
Royal Banks of Missouri have been at the business for over 60 years in St. Louis, and not just St. Louis now. Granite and Jerseyville on the east side, St. Charles County, and 3 locations in northeast Missouri, and all feel like your hometown bank at Royal Banks of Missouri, where better service means better banking.
And coming up in a couple hours, we're going to be dropping another episode of Two Man Game. I just thought I'd let you know if you're a Mizzou fan or a basketball fan. We're coming up with more content, as we always do here at Claves Online on a Friday afternoon into the evening. So we'll be talking to you a little bit later in the evening on Two Man Game. Stay here with us on ClavesOnline.com. That wraps up Daily Cards Live. Again, talking more baseball on Monday. Rammer, you have a great rest of your day, sir.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk in a bit, and everybody have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
At St. Louis Acura, we have over 100 new Acura models and over 160 pre-owned models in stock or on the way in May. Get 4.9% financing for up to 60 months on 2023 Acura MDXs, TLXs, Integras, and RDX models. Or get a certified rate as low as 3.49% on certified TLX and MDX models. And you can earn up to $1,500 in loyalty incentives. St. Louis Acura, better than ever for you.